It is now race week ahead of the Ashby 20 on Sunday, so let's see what I did in the build-up this week and see how race day goes. So I'll start this video with what my goals are going into Ashby 20. So I touched on this in the first episode of what my goals might be from 6 weeks out, and I'd like to just reassess where they are now. So I've got 3 goals in mind, so an A, a B and a C goal. So my A goal is a stretch goal, my B goal is something that I'd be really happy with, feel like I've had a success. Then my C goal is probably like the bare minimum that I'd be happy with on the day. So starting with my A goal, I thought that getting a PB would be quite a stretch, and one I didn't really consider 6 weeks ago, but I feel that training's gone pretty well and it is something that I could aim towards getting a 2:13, which is my PB at Ashby 20. I'd be over the moon with that because I don't feel that I'm fully in PB shape at the moment. So my B goal is somewhere in the region of 2:15 to 2:17:30. So that works out pace-wise as just under 6:40 per mile, going up to 6:52 per mile, which that 6:52 is a magic sub-3 figure. So I'd be happy if I could run the Ashby 20 at a sub-3 marathon pace. That leaves my C goal of 2:20, and a sub-2:20 would mean running 20 miles at sub-7 minute mile pace, which I'd be pretty disappointed if I couldn't do that into race day. I know that something's gone wrong in my race strategy or on the day. So you might be thinking, where have I plucked these goals and estimates from? And it's a good question, because there's a number of things that I've got in my head that I can use to go off. So the first thing I've got is my past race and PB performances. So with my PBs, I know that that's the sort of maximum possible I'm capable of that distance. I've also got where I currently am in sessions, so I know that during my training week I have some good indicators of where my fitness is, and this is over the 5k, so I know I'm capable of running 6 minute mile pace for 5k, and also in the long runs, so how I'm getting on in those long runs can indicate more likely how I'm going to do at Ashby. So during this block I've done 3 notable long runs. I've done a half marathon, 13 miles at around 6:40 pace. I've done a session just last weekend of about 17.5 miles, which averaged out at 6:45 pace. I've also done a 20-mile run at 7:10 pace. So it's now Wednesday. What have I done so far this training week leading into the race? And to be honest, my plan going into this week is not to treat it as a taper week or to drop off any of my training going into a race. And I know it might sound a bit silly that I'm aiming for this as a goal race, but I don't really want to lose any sort of training benefit, because I've got my main goals really are to kick on and be fit by the summer, to get back towards my PB shape and be breaking some of my PBs come this summer. So it doesn't make any sense really to taper down going into Ashby. So with that being said, I did an easy run on Monday to recover from a big session at the weekend. This was about 5.5 miles. I then did a session on Tuesday evening, so my session was 8 by a K, really good session. I did a 5 by a mile last week, so 8 by a K is the same volume as that. My kilometre reps were done in between 3:35 and 3:40, and I had a 90-second static recovery after each of them. That was another promising session for me banked. And going into Wednesday, I've done 2 easy runs on Wednesday, so I went out for 4 miles at lunch, and tonight should be about 8 miles or an hour.
You're now joining me at Rosliston parkrun. So I ran a time of just under 21 at Rosliston, so a little bit of effort because it's quite a tricky course, but still taking it a little bit easier ahead of Ashby, so 20:50-ish for Rosliston. The remainder of my running for the rest of the week has been kept to an easy pace. So on Thursday it was a very short easy run. On Friday I split my run into 2 halves, so in the morning I did a very short mini progression run, so this was dropping down from 7:15 to about 6:30 pace by the end, and I also did an easy run at lunchtime with the dog.
Well then, thank you. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
There she is.
So there we go, the start of the Ashby 2025. So I started off just behind Emma in the black vest peel, and this was about the last I saw of her on the run as she disappeared quickly into the distance. The course starts with quite an aggressive downhill, so it's important not to get carried away in the first mile or so. In the yellow vest in front, I ran briefly with my clubmate Will before he then upped the pace and dropped me. So the 2 mile mark approaching, and we're still having a bit of a downhill here before we go into the first ascent really, up around this corner. So we see this twice on the loop at Ashby 20. It is a bit of a climb around this corner, around the following corner. So it's quite a long straight here, which did go downhill to start with, but then climbs at the end of this clip. And we're coming up to one of the first water stations, so plenty of water stations on the course from our volunteers at Ivanhoe Runners. We soon approach the 3 mile mark, just coming up, so there's a little bit of a downhill after this water station, so it's good to open the legs on this section. We'll then see some support from Overseal Running Club in the green tent. Again, we follow the theme of the rolling hills on this course, so quite a big descent there into a bit of an uphill climb after this. I ran briefly with Amy, who then disappeared into the distance as she progressed her run even quicker. 6 miles now, still some more undulations as we approach the village of Heather. There's some really good support from the volunteers at Ivanhoe and the local Rotary Club. As we head into the village, there's even more support near the pub and on the corner as we turn back on ourselves to head back towards Packington.
Cheers guys. Thank you. Cheers guys.
The next section I'm approaching my friends at Conkers parkrun, so most of our local park runners and running club on this section.
Thank you. Cheers. Thanks guys.
We then shortly see Kev and Andy from our local running club South Derbyshire. And Kev did spot that I was filming in this moment. Some really good support through Packington as we head on to lap 2.
Oh good.
So I headed through the halfway point at 10 miles in about 1:08, so this was tracking for a 2:16. I then started to struggle a bit more on this second lap, so this is about 17 miles in now at the Conkers parkrun water station. Some great support as ever. We've only been take out Cheeky Hill in the parkrun, so I could finally get that sub 20 I've been after for a while. Once I was off a loop at Packington, it was then quite a bit of a climb on the last 1.5 miles back, so this was turning back in the last 800 metres, quite a downhill section before we joined the Bath grounds.
Thank you.
Keep following, big subscribers.
Cheers guys.
Striders, Conkers, from South Derbyshire, Sam Bassett.
Really good, well done.
And there we have it, we've made it to the end of the series, and Ashby 20 has now finished in a time of 2:17:30 for me. I might have been slightly under this. So where does that sit compared to my goals going into the race? So my goals going into the race, that C goal of 2:20, tick, I've done that. That's well inside that goal, so I'm not disappointed with my performance at least. Then looking at my B goal, which was between 2:15 and 2:17:30, so I've just fell in within that range of my B goal. So I've got to be happy with going in with a B goal. That means that I'm sort of happy with my result. My A goal was to get a PB of 2:13, but as I said on the week leading up to the race, I didn't feel I was quite in PB shape. When I did that PB, I just ran a 1:21 half marathon before that, and then went on to run my marathon PB not long after. So to get back in that shape and run a PB, when I've only run, say, 1:27, 1:28 half recently, would have been a big ask. So I was just outside of that. I was about 4 minutes outside. So I've got to be happy with that result on the day. And the big answer that everyone's been waiting for in the local running community is, what colour is the hoodie? And I know you can't really tell with this lighting too much, but it's a dark, like navy blue sort of colour with some gold writing on there, I think to commemorate the 40th anniversary of this race. So it's a really smart hoodie. I think my 5th Ashby hoodie now, either 5th or 6th, so I've got a few changes of colours to wear in my wardrobe now. It was another weekend of great racing for Emma as well. So she finished the Ashby 20 in a time of 2:03. So she finished first in this race. And there was some quite stiff competition at the top end, with the other two on the podium in the female race finishing both around 2 hours and 6 minutes. So some really top level of running there. Well done to Emma doing this in the build up to her London Marathon training. I think the last 6 weeks as a whole, to sum it up, has been really beneficial to my training. I think that having that focus and that goal to aim for Ashby 20 has been good for me. It's been able to allow me to get my long runs in, allow me to get a good decent bit of mileage in. So I've hit 60 miles most weeks. I've hit a long run most weekends as well. And I think that's only progressed my fitness going forward, as the long-term goal is to get back to that kind of shape that I was in when I was running my PBs. And I feel that I've took a stepping stone closer to that with training for Ashby 20. I think with not having that target on training for Ashby 20, I could have quite easily lost a bit of focus and motivation for these past 6 weeks. And where does that leave me now with my training going forward? So I don't have a particular focus with a certain race that I'm aiming for, but I just like to get out and do quite a lot of local races, quite a lot of shorter distance races at the weekends, at maybe some nights in the week. Now we're getting a bit of summer approaching, and just to try a few different shorter distance races. So with not having a marathon until December, I've got a bit of time to play with where I can try and work on some of my weaknesses at my top end speed, and try and bring those times down. So I'll be having a similar training focus. I think it's been good to have that consistent 60 miles a week roughly, with one decent session during the week and one decent session within my long run. That's been really beneficial to progress from that consistency there. I would like to try and increase the mileage slightly, but with doing that, it's a trade-off between whether I can get those intense sessions in, as they will benefit me over the 5K and the 10K. So as long as I'm feeling fresh, I'll try to push up the mileage a little bit more, or at least maintain what I've been doing. Because even if I'm going to maintain that mileage and this intensity of training for the next 4 to 5 weeks, I'm going to see my fitness progress from that consistency. So plenty to look forward to. I'll try and get in a few local races, and yeah, stay tuned and watch out and watch this space for what's coming next.